I am frequently asked, what equipment do you use to shoot your videos? This equipment is fantastic for shooting video. It's fast, it just delivers. Now, of course, when I teach video filmmaking, which I do, I really push and emphasize the fact that it's not about equipment, it's about storytelling. I love filming in the pans because of the sky, the big sky country. But it is about equipment as well, because
we have two. So.
Especially nowadays, because there's so much fantastic equipment available that is not particularly expensive, that produces such amazing results, that we can use this equipment to aid our storytelling. So it would be wrong of me just to say it's not about equipment. This video is about the equipment that I use to shoot my programs, with the emphasis that I believe that when technology gets in the way of storytelling, in other words, equipment for the sake of equipment, it detracts from the end result, and it detracts from what the audience gets and receives from the video that is being presented to them. This then is my equipment that I'm using on this, my 2018 Africa expedition. I use 3 separate camera systems. 2 of them kind of mesh together quite nicely. The first one is this. It is a Sony Alpha 6300. I will turn it on and get a shot of me, and this is how long it takes to get a shot of me. I'm now filming with this camera right now, and I've set the focus so it can focus on me beautifully, and I can address the camera and know that I'm going to be in perfect focus. And then, of course, if I'm walking around my subject matter, I can now move it around like this. Of course, if I want to get a tripod shot of myself quite easily, I can just put this on almost any surface, level it off quite nicely, and I'm busy filming. All right, I'll get to microphones in a minute. They're very important in a minute. The whole purpose of this camera is that I can get a story within seconds of seeing something happen. I can roll camera and capture the story. I have used the gimbal cameras like the DJI Osmo, which is a similar camera to this. It's stabilized. You can attach a phone to it, so you can actually, because I can't actually see what I'm filming here, which it would be nice if I could, but this camera doesn't have it. But I can frame up pretty well just because I'm well practiced at it. If it had a flip out viewfinder, it would be nice. The trouble is with the DJI Osmo, 2 major problems with it. To get the phone to connect and get it turned on and connect the phone, by the time you've got it connected and you can see the image on the phone, you've taken a minute or 2 minutes. Doesn't sound like a lot of time, but when shooting this kind of program, 1 minute is a lot of time. Something happens right now, on, switch on, roll camera. That's what I need. Okay. The other part about the DJI Osmo, the picture quality is awful. And I'm not talking about sharpness. It's 4K, but its bitrate is low, and the look of the image is horrible. So I don't like using it. So at the moment, what I use is a DJI. If I'm traveling in my own truck, I mount the DJI Osmo on the windscreen with a separate microphone, because the inbuilt audio on the DJI Osmo is terrible. Whereas the audio on this camera is really quite good. And with this microphone, I'm getting good, clean, crisp audio. With the Osmo, very difficult to get good audio, really difficult. So in the vehicle, I've got this microphone connected quite close, and I'm getting quite good audio, okay? But with an external microphone. So the DJI, without a good external microphone, is useless. Actually, that's the case with most cameras, really. So that's that camera. Now the lens here is a 10 to 18 millimeter Sony lens. It's the APS sensor. So the sensor on this camera is, I'll turn that off so you can see, is the APS sensor. It's the smaller, it's not the smallest, but it is not full frame. It's one down from full frame, if you like. And that's it there. It's still a nice, large, healthy sensor. Image quality from this is so much better than cameras like the DJI Osmo. It's chalk and cheese. With the Osmo, of course, if I'm doing tracking shots, so now if I walk with this camera and I roll the camera, if I'm now walking towards the camera with this and I'm holding it very steady, then I'm getting a nice shot. Something like a gimbal camera or this camera on a gimbal is going to give me a much smoother tracking shot. Desirable, smooth tracking? Absolutely. Camera shake is an enemy, a major enemy. You just want to avoid camera shake. So you will get more camera shake with a camera like this. As far as I'm concerned though, the payoff of having such a beautiful camera giving such superb images is worth the trade-off with the camera shake. Also, the stills from this camera are beautiful. The stills from an Osmo are a good cell phone is much better than an Osmo at stills. So that's the beauty of this system. Of course, having a small microphone. Now this microphone is the Rode. It's called, I can't remember the model name actually, and it's, as you can hear, very, very nice. So now I'm going to switch from the radio mic attached to that camera to this little mic on this camera. Switch now. So now, can you hear the difference in audio? It's still good, isn't it? It's still clear, it's still crisp. It's good. It's absolutely usable. The trouble is with this microphone, when I step quite far away, which I'm going to do now, I'm going to step quite far away from it, and if I walk towards you now, can you hear the sound deteriorating from that microphone? It doesn't like being far away. It's very good close up, but it is a vlogging microphone, so it's doing its job very, very well. It's not well suited. So a short rifle mic, and I've ordered a new one. My other rifle mic is this long. It's too heavy and bulky for traveling. So I've ordered another one and I'm getting it in a week's time. On this trip, I'm meeting my mate from Seattle, and he's bringing me a particular one that I ordered. It's made by Shure. And so that is my little vlogging camera. This is the Joby mount. It's the big one. The small Joby mounts, I find them a bit flimsy. Better get the big one, even for a light camera like this. I think the heavier one is it's easier to use. It's just better than the light one. So this is, I think, they're top of the range of the Joby, but it works extremely well. This is the second major trip I've used it on, and I love it. It's a wonderful, wonderful piece of equipment. My second system consists of this camera too. This is the big boy, the full frame camera. I'll quickly show you what full frame means. There's the sensor right there, and I use this for A-roll shots. For example, I'm going to turn it on. Microphone is on. I'm going to roll shutter. I'm going to make sure it's nice and wide, and I'm going to point it directly at me. So I can also use this for a vlogging camera, but it's quite heavy and it's not as quick as the small camera with the Joby. I can put it on the Joby, but it's a bit heavy for it. So I basically leave the camera plate, my main tripod plate on here, so I can attach this to a tripod very, very quickly. I use this camera for my beauty shots. Beautiful when I've got time, to put it on a tripod, when I've got time to change lenses, when I've got time to capture those beautiful moments of nature, the B-roll beauty shots that I love to. And this is my creative machine, where I love to be able to, if I've got time, set up a gorgeous shot and do it with one of these lenses. That's what that is for. It's the A7 Mark III. I've had it for a very short time. With it, I have the 90mm. This is my only prime lens. Prime is an expression that means that it's a fixed focal length. There's no zoom in it. It's not a variable focal length. In terms of zooming, it's nice to have video. It's very nice to have zoom. Not for the sake of doing this, okay, because that's quite amateurish. You have a shot and then zoom back. You've got to be careful with that, because too much of it can look very amateurish. I do it occasionally, but not a lot, so I'm careful with zooming. But it's nice to be able to set up, and again, it's about storytelling. It's about capturing the moment quickly without having to faff with changing lenses. So one lens with a variable focal length can sometimes, you can literally just kind of square it off and go. And that's how long it takes. But of course, a prime lens, you can't do that. You then have to move around. The scene that we've just shot with this camera of me talking was filmed with this. Prime lenses, this is a 90mm f2.8. 2.8 means it is quite fast, lets in a lot of light, is another way of putting it. And it is also macro, which I've recently kind of got into macro, and I'm enjoying it, and it is beautifully sharp. And for the price, this is an amazing lens for its price. Beautiful. I love using that lens, but it's only really practical on a tripod for the reasons I've just given. That then leads me to the big boy. It is the Sony G Master 100 to 400mm I think it's a 5.6. It's a 4.5 to 5.6, so it's not overly fast. When I say the word fast, it's a bit of a strange expression, but it means that it lets in light and I can use high fast shutter speeds. That's what it actually refers to, and that is an absolute beauty. Also fairly new to my stable of equipment. I recently moved from Canon to Sony. I still love the color science of Canon cameras. There's something about the look of the Canon lenses I love. I love the color science of the cameras. But they have fallen so far behind when it comes to video shooting. If you want a video shoot with a Canon, you have to spend 5 times. That's a $3,000 camera. You have to probably spend, more than double for a Canon video camera, and then you can't shoot stills, or the stills it shoots are lousy. This shoots beautiful stills, as good as you can get. So again, versatility and storytelling, and that autofocus, very fast to focus. I must admit that doesn't stabilize quite as well as the Canons, but the color science of the Sonys is getting better and better and better. I'm starting to love it. Well, I do love it. So that's my other lens, and what I do need to mention is the lens attached to this, and this is my favorite lens of all. Again, the Sony G Master. They're expensive lenses. They are the highest of their quality range. They call them G Master. This is an f2.8, so it's nice and fast. It's a 16 to 35mm, and this thing, it's almost as sharp as a prime lens. It is beautiful. Man, this is a gorgeous lens. I love using this lens. And creatively, when telling stories, the thrill of being able to shoot with nice equipment. And this is why I say it is partly about equipment, because good equipment inspires the storyteller. It's not necessary for the story necessarily, but if it inspires the storyteller to tell stories and use their equipment because they love using their equipment, because it gives them a kick, gives them a thrill when they look back at the footage and they go, oh man, that's beautiful, and they love their own work, then equipment does play a very big role. Now I'm going to talk about the third and fourth camera systems that I use, which include action cameras and drones. Action cameras. I have had GoPro 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And I've moved to Sony. Now all of this equipment is Sony, so you might be thinking, oh, I'm sponsored by Sony. I am not sponsored by Sony. I would love to be sponsored by Sony, but I'm not, but they just seem to be delivering. The GoPro has lost its way in terms of a tool, and my previous GoPro, the 6, those of you who know the GoPro, I'm not going to go through them in detail, but the 6, the camera was part of they thought it would be clever to have the camera and case as one as opposed to the camera inside case. It was an extremely bad idea. On my last shoot, I damaged the case, damaged the camera, therefore throw it away. It was a bad idea, okay, and GoPro from GoPro day one, they got steadily worse, steadily more complicated to use. They tried fancy things that didn't work, and I've gone back to the idea of a case and a camera. It has a traditional mount for a tripod. Thank you, Sony, for thinking about this. Likewise, ordinary camera mounts, I can use any tripod for these. And also, thank you, Sony, for thinking about audio. GoPro just ignored audio. They just thought it wasn't important. So this has, I can plug in any of these microphones, I can plug it in there and mount this and use it as a vlogging camera. So this is now versatile. And if I need underwater or I need to strap it to underside my vehicle, it's protected in a case. If I damage the case, I can go and buy a new case. All right, so I've gone away from GoPro. Sad really, because GoPro was such a promising camera. I loved them. And now I just think that they're just second rate. And the quality is better, and it's cheaper, and it's stabilized 4K for over $100 cheaper than the GoPro. So it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. And picture quality, this is better. This is a better picture quality. Not by a long way, but it is better. I think the picture quality out of this thing is better than the GoPro. So, the light. So let's talk about microphones. Now, microphones are more important, dare I say, than cameras. If you don't have a good soundtrack, if you don't have a rich soundtrack, if you don't, when you're editing, put the same amount of effort into your soundtrack as you do your video visuals, then you're missing the game. Because in principle, when telling a story, the information comes through visual, the emotion comes through the sound, the birds, the natural sounds, the music, dare I say music. Music choice is a story all in its own. Be very careful with your music choice, because music so often, there are programs, there are 4x4 programs I cannot watch. I cannot watch them because of the music. Because of music that does, music is about creating emotion. So I'm not going to go through that now because that's a different lesson altogether. But what I'm saying is that your microphone is picking up, you need to hear clearly what people are saying. Clearly. Okay? You need a rifle mic, point it in a direction, try and get really reasonably close to your subject, and get clear, audible people speaking clearly. If you cannot get close to them, you get a radio mic. I am now, this very second, using a Lapel radio microphone right there, because I had the camera at a distance. Now I've got a camera close, distance close, and I want the audio level to be equal all the way across. So I use this microphone for everything. I mentioned the microphone on the vlogging camera, which is great for voice, quite close. I've got one other microphone to show you, and this microphone I absolutely love. All right, now the microphone I was talking about is now recording. It is a Rode Stereo VideoMic Pro. There's about $600 or so. It's quite a lot of money to spend on a microphone, but the sound quality is gorgeous. Being stereo, it is ideal for ambience. Now remember, if the audio is creating emotion, then the ambience is vital. Getting a beautiful ambience is so important. Here's another little bit editing trick that comes in here. Never, ever, 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 and I say it 1,000 times because I see it so often. Fundamental error of editing is to remove the background sound effect and put in music instead. Mostly it kills it. Okay, because, well, I won't go into the details, but that's a little tip for you. Therefore, the sound, the ambient sound behind whatever you're doing is vital. It creates the emotion of the place. Okay, so this microphone that I'm recording now, that I'm about to take off and show you, is a masterpiece. And here it is here. It has a very effective wind protector, and it's made out of metal, and it's nice and strong, and it has different settings for attenuating for voice. It's very good for voice, as long as I'm close to the camera. Beautiful attenuation for voice. Use it inside the car. It's got low pass filter, so it can cut out the rumble of a car. So if you're inside a car, you can use this beautifully inside a vehicle, because you just get rid of some of the low end frequencies and the voice comes through clearly. It has gain, which I put as high so that the camera preamp is doing less work, because the preamps in these are better than the camera preamps. So get the camera preamp to work less, pump up the output of the microphone and pull down the input of the camera, and you'll get a cleaner sound. This is an absolute beauty. The other part of your kit that you need to focus on, and really focus on, are these guys. All right, if you do not have, it's quite windy today, if we didn't have good wind protection, I could not film this video. I couldn't do it. It would be useless. So again, that's such important. The sound is so important that you need to be able to record good, clear sound everywhere, and don't skimp on these. In fact, when I go shopping for a wind muff or wind protector or whatever you want to call them, I list most expensive. Rycote is a very good make. They make some absolute beauties. Rode makes some good ones, and they make some not so good ones. So this is a Rode, and it came with the microphone. Nice, very, very good. I'm very, very happy with it. So in conclusion, my advice to you, if building up a set of lenses and cameras for this kind of work, is focus first on your microphones, making sure you're getting really beautiful sound. Think about the kind of sound that you're recording. People talking, you're going to need a long microphone, and then ambience. You can use the long microphone for ambience, but a stereo microphone is better. So if you can get two microphones, do that. The third microphone you should get should be a radio microphone. So because now I'm using the long lens way over there and using a radio mic and getting beautiful, crisp, clear sound. In terms of cameras, don't worry too much about it. If you can only get one camera, then get a camera that gives you the most thrill to use in terms of your own personal photography and storytelling, because the reward of using a beautiful piece of equipment is there, and that will actually translate into better storytelling. What lenses? You need a standard lens, something like, I'm talking about full frame focal length measurements here. You're talking, what is ideal? 24 to 70 is an ideal standard lens. That kind of ratio, because you can get quite nice wide angles, and you can also get reasonably close for detail. It gives you a good depth. If you are thinking about, okay, I must get the best quality, and it kind of becomes a bit of a thing that you feel you can't get started because you don't have quite what you want. Well, I've never had exactly what I wanted. I've always had to compromise because I didn't have bottomless pockets. So everything is a compromise. I'm pretty close to what I would call now as my ideal setup. If you gave me a bunch of money right now to invest in something more, I might get another lens or two, but I love this stuff. It's so fast and quick and easy to use. It produces beautiful still images, because of course I have to shoot still and video. The image quality it's wonderful. I would like faster frame rates for some more slow motion. Yes, I would. Nobody is making a 4K camera that can do very high frame rates. When you get to that realm of high frame rates, you're starting to spend much more money, and those are mostly video cameras as opposed to video still cameras, as I'm using here. My programs are shot in 4K for two reasons. I don't think 4K is necessary in the YouTube arena. It's not important. I'm doing 4K because I also sell my episodal programs, my programs that I develop for and edit for television, because I'm broadcast in a number of countries, and I don't do my vlogging. For example, this video would never appear on those programs, but my adventures, my expeditions, those programs are edited in 24-minute lengths so that I can then adapt the edit for television. And more television networks are asking for 4K. And that's really why I'm shooting 4K. But I don't think that most people think of it as oh, we must shoot in 4K. Why? HD on a really big television, monitor is still glorious. So the extra expense in equipment and expense in editing is a real challenge when moving to 4K. So if you do want to go 4K, take that into consideration. Everything costs more, everything slows down, everything becomes more of a challenge. But as I've proved here with this equipment, it is possible for the layman to shoot beautiful, high quality 4K. I hope what I've shared with you today will help you make better videos, but I have to say again, tell better stories, because that's what it's about. It's about stories and capturing the imagination of your viewer. Thank you for watching.